Harbours are lifelines in island countries like Iceland. Nowhere else does one feel the beat of trade and commerce more strongly. Horns blow and ropes creak as ships of all sizes, from fishing boats to freighters or cruise liners, pause in their passages from continent to continent. Location is the key factor in the success of international ports. Iceland's position in the middle of the North Atlantic makes it an important hub for shipping between Europe and North America. And with more than half of the population living in the vicinity of Iceland's capital, Reykjavik, the ports in the Faxa Bay region are inevitably the busiest. In 2005, 4 of them merged, forming the Associated Icelandic Ports, better known as the Faxaports. By uniting their forces, the ports increased their strength with the specialized services rendered at each of them. Together, these ports serve the fishing fleet, the recreational maritimers, the flourishing tourist trade and bunkering companies, in addition to being one of Scandinavia's largest container ports with high-quality logistics services. Reykjavik Harbour is the biggest of the 4 Faxaports. The harbour is divided into 2 areas, the Old Harbour and Sundaport. One of the main reasons for why the settlers who came from Norway to Iceland in the late 800s decided to build their homes in Reykjavik was that the site offered great natural surroundings for a harbour, a safe haven from the rough and often dangerous North Atlantic Ocean. Reykjavik grew slowly throughout the centuries, but in 1786 it officially became a town. Piers were built for the bigger fishing boats in the early 1900s, but it wasn't until 1917 that work was completed on 3 major structures, forming the basis for a real port. The old harbour has since been enlarged and improved and still serves the people of Reykjavik well. It's the country's biggest port for the fishing industry and home to maritime research vessels and the Icelandic Coast Guard. The tourist trade has been a growing business for the Faxaports. Iceland is an ideal stopover for cruise ships repositioning from the US to Europe or vice versa, and also as a main transit call in its own right on the expanding North European market. It can be quite romantic to sail into the old harbour where tourists can walk straight to the town centre within minutes. If luck will have it, they could be just in time for the annual Harbour Day Festival, Independence Day, or any other big summer festival in the capital like the Cultural Night in August. Ambitious plans have been drawn up for redeveloping the waterfront area in the old harbour, replacing slipways and ship repairing with residential housing, restaurants, hotels and shops. Close by is the newly opened Maritime Museum, which the Faxaports took a generous part in funding. And already attracting thousands of tourists every year is the Old Fisherman's Wharf, with new floating jetties for small leisure boats, whale-watching boats and restaurants. Even the 4 whaling ships are an attraction for tourists. On the east side of the old harbour, construction is well underway for a concert and conference hall. The west part of the old harbour is designated for the fishing industry and oil suppliers. It's the largest bunkering centre in the North Atlantic, as well as a major storage and distribution centre for petroleum products for the home market. The Reykjavik Fish Market is located in the fishing port, where thousands of tons of fresh catch are bought and sold every day. Much of the fish goes straight to the state-of-the-art processing plant in a nearby building. Most of the western part of the old harbour is built up on landfill. It's host to many small and middle-sized companies with port-related operations. Most of the import-export cargo handling in Iceland goes through the other part of the Reykjavik harbour, Sundaport. Part of the service offered by the Faxaports is piloting, which is compulsory, access to hot and cold water and electricity. Other operations are left to the two major shipping companies, Eimskip and Samskip, and smaller harbour operators like Nesskip and others. The bigger shipping companies have designated areas in Sunderport with major container terminals and reefer container service, high-tech freezing storage, as well as warehousing and logistics support. This service makes Reykjavik an important container hub, with direct liner services to major consumer markets in North America, Scandinavia, the UK and continental Europe. Samskip and Eimskip offer their customers tailor-made services as diverse as the goods that they carry. Equipped with the latest high-tech solutions, the ports are staffed with well-trained workers who realize their important role in the supply chain. Sunderport's location is very convenient, only a 20-minute truck drive from the dock to major local markets in every direction. It's also a home away from home for larger cruise ships. The majority of the more than 80 cruise ships that visit Reykjavik annually are larger vessels that are berthed at Skarfabakki, a newly opened multi-purpose quay in Sunderport. Passengers from even the most majestic of fun ships can walk straight from the ship onto Icelandic ground. In the Pierside Welcome Centre, they can get all the information needed for sightseeing in or around Reykjavik, access to tour buses and shuttles, rental cars or telephones. A strategic plan is underway to build a primary industrial port at Grundartangi, the second largest of the Faxaports. Originally built in 1978 for the Iceland Alloys factory, producers of ferrosilicon, it took on a new customer in 1998 when a primary aluminium plant, Nordic Aluminium, was built there, benefiting from the good port facilities for ships with great draft. Apart from the deep water facilities for handling large vessels, Grundartangi has abundant land available for commercial development with no residential housing nearby. This gives a perfect opportunity for new purpose-built facilities to handle a variety of cargo, including containers and dry or liquid bulks. Grundartangi is only about half an hour's drive away from Reykjavik thanks to a 5.7-kilometre subsea tunnel link under Hvalfjörður. Road access to the Grundartangi harbour is very good and will improve even further when plans materialise for a new road reaching from Sundahöfn port to the Hvalfjörður tunnel, which in the future will be expanded. One of the major benefits to building up a big and modernised port at Grundartangi is the distance from residential areas. The new industrial area will rise west of the existing harbour, attracting small or medium-sized companies with port-related operations such as slipways and ship repairs, animal feed importers and other agribulk. Just a few kilometres north of Grundartangi, you will find the third of the Faxaports, Akranes. This colourful and welcoming harbour has, since the 1930s, been a home port for large fisheries companies, a fish meal processing plant, a cement factory and smaller-scale freight transport. Part of the harbour's charm are the numerous small leisure boats that anchor at the new floating dock in Akranes throughout the year. The days at Akranes harbour are busy. When fishing boats bring in their fresh catches, the fish is brought in plastic containers directly to the dockside fish market, where it's auctioned off daily. The fish is measured and weighed and then sold via an electronic auctioning system. The fourth and smallest of the Faxaports is Borgarnes. The town is close to the setting of one of Iceland's most renowned sagas, Egil's Saga. Its location is also strategic, with hundreds of summer houses in the area and the main ring road passing through the small town. Set in these historic and picturesque surroundings, Borgarnes Port is the perfect harbour for small leisure boats and yachts, and a prospective centre for maritime sports. Its shallow waters limit the size of vessels that can berth in Borgarnes, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for with friendliness. The Faxaports have increased environmental consciousness by taking up accurate accounting of factors that will have an impact on the environment. This is called green bookkeeping and will help the company to reduce waste and emissions of environmental concern. Associated Icelandic ports, the Faxaports, are on the fast track to becoming a more important hub for the ever-growing sea transport business. With modern and high-tech solutions for all types of ocean traffic, the Faxaports wait to be of service to all customers doing business on both sides of the North Atlantic. And the location is perfect, right in the middle.